In the past 5 years, Warner Brothers Animated has done a really good job of bringing out a whole new line of animated films. Not just Batman or Superman, but also Wonder Woman, and of course the Justice League series. Now I'm stuck between two of my favorite animated Batman films. One being Night of the Phantasm, the other being Under the Red Hood. I almost want to do a video about how I can contrast the two. Now comes in The Dark Knight Returns, Part 2. Part 1 was okay. It followed the comic pretty darn close, but it just really didn't have that big oh my god feeling. Mainly because he was fighting just some mutant gang leader. All the while you see that the Joker is slowly going to emerge in the story, but it ends just before he does. Part 2 is about the Joker's reinsurgence into the story. And wow, it follows the comic really close. But there are moments where it actually diverts itself but keeps the actions true, if that kind of makes sense. I'll talk about 3 things here in this review. Number 1 is Batman. Peter Wellers does a pretty good job of talking as Batman. He really does the voice well. He's no Kevin Conroy, of course, but he's definitely a better choice in the previous years. When he's talking his low gravelly voice, it's good. It's intimidating. And you kind of get this real feeling that he's just this pissed off old guy all the time. Only when he yells does his voice kind of, I don't know, it loses that gravelly voice, so it kind of doesn't sound as intimidating. There's a point where he's yelling at these gang members and he just sounds like this old man, but not really grumpy, just kind of senile. As I said, he's no Kevin Conroy, but he gives the part a good try, and I think that he worked with this universe. Second, the art style. The art style, in my opinion, switches back and forth. I really like it for most part. The fight scenes are really well animated. Just all of the actions in the fight scenes, as well as some action scenes, are very well animated. There's a lot of detail in them. However, there are moments where it kind of jumps, and there's background characters who aren't really doing anything. For instance, when they're at the carnival, this roller coaster is like skipping 6 frames a second. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but it looks really silly. But to be honest, there's only just minor tweaks here and there. Besides that, it's really good art. The end battle is ridiculously good. Now for the story, I'm gonna go a little bit about it, then I'll go a little bit spoilerish. But don't worry, I'm not there yet. So the story, it's what you've been waiting for all of part 1 for. If you've read the comic, you know what's coming, but you're still on the edge of your seat just waiting for it to happen. There's 2 major conflicts in this film. Conflict A with the Joker and Batman, B with Batman and Superman. The Joker is pretty much trying to push Batman to the point where he cannot go, where he said he would not let himself go. It's the most difficult battle you've ever seen him have with the Joker. And the Joker has a little bit of an edge on him because, as I said, he's old, he's broken. Joker just does his coup de grace of crimes and murder and onslaught. And the Batman just doesn't care anymore. He needs to stop him. The conclusion is epic. And then we get Superman and Batman. Obviously, Batman screwed enough shit up and he's broken the law that the president put in. Clark Kent still respects Bruce Wayne, but he even says at one point, you know, I'm gonna have to take you down if you don't stop. And Bruce Wayne's just like, name a time and place. Batman is so badass in this movie. He fights Superman. He's not fighting him to prove he's right with the government. He's fighting Superman to prove that he is the one man that can beat him. The story is fast, I will say. Even though it is following the comic quite well, its pacing is really quick. Just like year 1, events are just going by like this. You don't get lost, you're more so just like, whoa, slow down. This goes longer than year 1 does, it goes 74 minutes. And that's a lot of time for a straight-to-DVD animated film these days. Mainly because just with a budget, they can't go that long. But with The Dark Knight Returns, Part 2, I think this, if you watched it with Part 1 and just made it this 2-hour-long trip, it would be really good. Part 1 and Part 2 are still 2 separate movies, and they still have their own intros, conclusions, and ends. But Dark Knight Returns Part 2 is just the conclusion, the coup de grace to the whole Dark Knight Returns story. Now for the spoiler bit. Here's a little warning right here. If you guys have read the comic, you'll notice that when he comes up to Joker, it's kind of different. In the comic, he's saying, oh, you didn't have the nerve to kill me, after he's on Joker's neck. But in the movie, the Joker says, I finally made you do it. I made you lose control. The complete opposite, technically, of the dialogue from the comic, but the actions are still the same. And if anything, it actually hits you a hell of a lot harder than the comic does. The idea of not really killing someone, but being blamed for their death anyway, is minuscule compared to losing control over the thing that you tried the most to not do. And that was the Joker's whole plan from the start, just to have this final battle with Batman and break him. Is it better than Under the Red Hood or Mask of the Phantasm? I'd almost say yes if it wasn't a part 2. Technically, we're not getting the whole intro of Batman coming back, his reasons for coming back, the whole fight with the gang leader, the reason why the gangs are there in the first place. If you hadn't seen part 1, you'd kind of be lost on these things. I'd say it's really good still, but it's not as good as these. In the end, I would totally recommend it to my friends. I think it's well done. I think it follows the comic, even though it doesn't really at one point, but it still does. Oh yeah, I forgot to show this. I'm wearing like a double Batman shirt. I got Batman sweater and then a Batman t-shirt. That's how much I like this movie. I was like double Batmaning. It's still not one of the best Batmans of all time, but I'm a Batman whore almost, so I'll say it's still really good, and I think you should buy it. Or at least rent it, or watch it on the internet or something. But that's all from me, guys. Comment below if you see it. Tell me what you think. Did you notice that thing about the comic that I noticed? And if you do you think it was better? If you guys want to check out my radio show, here's the time and place right here. If you want to check out my other videos, hopefully the video camera isn't going to die just right now, and they'll be coming up right after this. Thanks for watching.